What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Film Archives, where we break down movies. That way we can answer the question, was it worth watching? I upload new videos every week, so consider subscribing for more movie breakdown stuff. Today, we're going to be breaking down Freddy vs. Jason. Let's get into it. Though he needs no introduction, our movie starts with a brief background on Freddy, aka the Springwood Slasher, whose crimes are honestly really f***ed up.
Leave Freddy alone!
Like, it's terrible. He was a brutal killer, and his reign of terror was pretty much legendary and infamous. That is, until the parents of Springwood came together, taking justice into their own hands, burning him alive. Super epic stuff. Robert Englund is legendary for this role. I actually met him once at Comic-Con, and he is just as weird as you think he would be. He basically explains that he was kind of bad when he was alive, but after he died, he literally became the stuff nightmares are made out of. The Dream Demon. It's wild. He gained the power to invade dreams, and that's when the fun really began. We're shown a few flashback scenes of the previous Nightmare on Elm Street movies, which I can appreciate. Some of these scenes are just like top-notch nar. But eventually they found a way to completely erase Freddy. Being dead wasn't really a problem for him, but being forgotten, that's a big total bummer. We learn that Freddy Krueger has been in hell and has been unable to invade children's dreams until he found someone. Jason Voorhees. That's the person he found, was Jason, hockey mask guy. I guess, yeah. So basically, Freddy invaded the dreams of Jason Voorhees from hell. Super epic stuff, super metal, bro. And Freddy is eventually able to resurrect Jason Voorhees. And in his dreams, Freddy appears as Jason Voorhees' mother. They don't really explain how he has the power to resurrect him, because when we're shown Jason, he's clearly decomposing. But it's fine. It's super metal anyway, so it's fine. Taking the form of Jason's mom, Pamela Voorhees, Freddy manages to manipulate Jason into thinking that his mother wants him to actually go to Elm Street and kill. This will create fear in the townsfolk that Freddy has returned, allowing him to regain his powers. And the intro is pure hype, brother. No cap, fam. That's on God. We are then introduced to some of the main characters. We have Laurie, Gib, and Kia. And fun fact here, the main character, her name is Laurie, and the name was actually directly inspired from the Laurie Strode character from the Halloween movies, which is a nice touch. They're all having their classic 2000s sleepover. The friends are soon joined by Gib's boyfriend, and he's a total D-bag and kind of an abuser. His name is Trey, and his friend is along with him. His name is Blake. We then learn that Laurie's mother died, which is slightly important, but yeah, there's that. We also see Jason stalking them outside of their house while they're having their sleepover, so very ominous stuff. We then see Jason, who had been stalking them from outside the house, brutally murder Gibbs' boyfriend Trey, and it's just nar stuff, dude. And I love that when Jason is actually killing Trey, he never drops his beer. Like, this guy is a true bro through and through. The police suspect that Freddy Krueger has returned, and they take Laurie and all of her friends to the police station for questioning. At the police station, Laurie overhears the name Freddy Krueger, and of course, she falls asleep at the police station, where, guess what? She has her dreams invaded by Freddy Krueger himself. Freddy then tells her that he will return soon, and to be very afraid, and that she better warn everyone about his return. I'm not gonna lie though, this scene is actually pretty cool. Like, the visual effects were super sick, even for a movie that's now over 20 years old. Moving along, we see a quick scene of Freddy Krueger not being strong enough to kill Blake in his sleep, so he uses Jason to then murder Blake and his father, and this is just an absolute monster kill.
Monster kill.
We are then introduced to two more characters by the name of Will and Mark, and they are patients at a psychiatric hospital by the name of Weston Hills. All of the residents at this hospital are given the dream suppressant drug Hypnosil, which is basically a drug that prevents them from dreaming. Trying to get rid of Freddy Krueger here, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Laurie's ex-boyfriend Will and his friend Mark, the two characters, oversee a news report on the TV. Kind of funny that the news initials are KRGR, which very clearly stand for Krueger, but it's cool. The news reporter mentions that there has been a murder on 1428 Elm Street, which I don't think they should be allowed to give out the actual address on the news, but what are you gonna do? Laurie's ex-boyfriend oversees this on the TV, and he's like, no freaking way, we gotta break out of here, and we gotta escape. It's probably Freddy Krueger. We gotta escape, and we gotta warn Laurie. Will briefly mentions that he saw Lori's dad murder his wife, so Lori's mom, so he suspects that Lori's dad might be out to kill her as well. This will come back into play a bit later. It's not super important though. We then see Lori at school where she learns that Blake has been found dead. And the police have basically framed Blake for killing not only his father, but also Trey, and then taking his own life. Sort of a Columbine situation, which is kind of wild. We see Lori tell her friends at school about the nightmare she had of Freddy. And it's honestly super funny as she's telling her friends about this nightmare. Everyone in the hallway of the school just stops and listens. And it's like, mind your own damn business. What the hell's wrong with y'all? You know what I mean? Didn't you got shit to do? Don't you got class to get to? What the hell y'all eavesdropping? It's just crazy. It's crazy, bruh. So Will and Mark, having escaped the psychiatric hospital, arrive at the school and inform her that seeing Freddy in her dreams means that he's coming for her. And I also thought it was hilarious how these two guys escaped from the psychiatric hospital after 4 years, mind you, and the very next day they just go to school. Like, it's insane. Yeah, but they sneak into the school and they warn Lori, and yeah, it's cool. Mark and Will then come to learn that the adults of Springwood have gone to extremes to ensure that the children have forgotten Freddy Krueger. You know, they've removed all mention of Freddy Krueger's name from public records, including, you know, his birth certificate, his death certificate, and obituaries of all his victims. It's just gone, girl. It's gone. Later that night, we see Lori and her friends attending a rave in a cornfield. And if you've ever seen a horror movie, you just don't go into a cornfield. They're always bad news, but what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? We then see Freddy try to kill Lori's friend Gib in her nightmare, but Jason gets to her first and just gouges her through, and it, you know, rip, see you later, Gibby. And after this, Jason just goes on a literal rampage at the rave, and this is actually a really good scene here. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to give too much away because you should actually watch this movie, but Jason be killing everybody up in this bitch. Dot, hack, slash 'em, gash 'em, cut 'em up, bash 'em, flame can't stop 'em. I'm a motherfucking hockey goalie, name's Jason, aka the kill station, blood staining, straight banging, it's honestly dope. Jason's rampage winds up angering Freddy, who realizes that if he doesn't stop Jason, he will be denied all of his victims, and those are his victims, or as he says, they're mine. Lori and her friend Kia manage to escape the rave with the help of the school nerd by the name of Linderman and the classic stoner Bill. I mean, he looks like a Bill. I mean, just look at this guy.
Dude, that goalie was pissed about something.
Also, it was really funny, but this dude's full name is Bill Freeberg, which is a vibe. I'm not gonna lie, it's a vibe. Lori and Will then decide to head to Mark's house in order to find out more information on Freddy, and we get this throwback scene that is sure to make anyone who grew up with this movie feel hella old. Floppy disks and cassette tapes, my guy. It's kind of a vibe, though. It's kind of a vibe. Will and Lori arrive at Mark's house just in time to witness him getting killed by Freddy Krueger. And bruh, Freddy be looking nar binks up in this bitch. Like, whoever did his makeup deserves a raise. And interestingly enough, he said that the prosthetics that he had to wear for this movie were so heavy that during some of the filming with the fire prosthetics, they actually like melted to his face, which is kind of crazy. One of the police officers, a deputy by the name of Scott Stubbs, decides to help the teens, and this is just super funny because he just walks in on them, you know, like smoking weed and you know, talking shit. And I don't think he can just walk into your house or your, you know, hideout and stuff like that, but it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. They all then begin to discuss the best way to stop Jason and the best way to stop Freddy. While everyone is having the discussion, Lori briefly falls asleep where she encounters Freddy. And that's pretty cool, but the rest of the group wakes her up. Will then mentions Hypnosil and how they forced him to take it at the psychiatric hospital. So they do a good old-fashioned web search. I mean, just look at this.
Hypnosil.
They then discover that Hypnosil is used to suppress your dreams, and yeah, they then come up with a plan that they're going to steal it from Weston Hills Psychiatric Hospital. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. They all arrive at the psychiatric hospital, and they attempt to steal the Hypnosil drug so they can all, you know, suppress their dreams and, you know, fight Freddy Krueger that way. However, Bill, the stoner guy, he just has a little bit too much of the devil's lettuce, you know what I mean? Just a little, he hit it a little too hard, bro. And he kind of nods off, I guess. And sure enough, Freddy Krueger takes over his body and kind of just controls him. I didn't know he had the power to like full on control you and possess your body. But in this movie, he does. It's wild. It's wild. Wild stuff. Freddy Krueger, then using the possessed Bill, uses him to dispose of all the hypnosil, and he kind of forces him to dump all of the medicine down the drain. And yeah, all is lost in this moment, kind of. Jason then shows up, and I'm not gonna lie, we get the funniest jump scare I've seen in a very long time. Like, just listen to this guy scream, dude. Just listen. It's wild. So Jason scares the shit out of Linderman, and he kills the police officer, Deputy Stubbs, by electrocuting him. It's pretty gnarly stuff. And honestly, Linderman might be my favorite character just because of that funny ass scream. I'm not gonna lie. They all attempt to escape and run away from Jason. We then see Freddy, who is still possessing Bill, use his body to actually like tranquilize Jason. And it's kind of sad because he uses Bill's body to, inject Jason with tranquilizer, but Jason just swings and cuts him in half. Like, he literally bisects him. It's gnarly, gnarly. Freddy then attempts to kill Jason in his dream, and we are treated to some pretty terrible CGI, but it's honestly so terrible that it's kind of good. Like, we know these vibes, and we like these vibes, guys. Freddy is just straight up overpowered in the dream world, and he basically has the God mode cheats enabled. However, Jason is basically a zombie, and he will not die, so he fights back, and it kind of leaves him at a standstill for a while. Freddy eventually discovers that Jason is afraid of water, which is weird because in the Friday the 13th movies, he's definitely killed people in the water. But I guess water's his weakness in this movie, and he's afraid of drowning. So yeah, he won't walk through water, folks. Freddy then uses this to his advantage, causing Jason to revert to a younger version of himself. And he's also able to probe his memories, because I guess Freddy has the ability to do that too. So he can possess you, and he can, probe into your memories. It's kind of cray-cray though, I'm not gonna lie, a little cray. The teens then devise a plan to pull Freddy from the dream world and pull him into the real world in order to fight Jason, so they can kind of, kill each other off type of situation. They decide to bring the unconscious Jason back to Camp Crystal Lake, where he's from, and they figure hopefully Jason will kill Freddy, and then after that, he's already home, so he'll just kind of leave everybody alone and kind of roam, the lake. I don't know. I guess it's an okay plan. It's mid at best. Lori then injects herself with a sedative, which is insane, but she goes to sleep and she plans to pull Freddy out, and she manages to save Jason from drowning in his own dream, which I don't know how she can get into Jason's dream, but we're not going to question this because this movie's so metal. So Lori manages to save Jason from Freddy in the dream, and they successfully wake Jason up, leaving Lori in the dream all alone. And he also reveals that he was the one who murdered her mother. So guess what? It wasn't her father. It was Freddy Krueger. And her father was covering it up because they didn't want to mention Freddy Krueger's name. It's almost like they planned this. We're not questioning it. We're not questioning it. So as Jason awakens, they're at the real Camp Crystal Lake, and he quickly pursues the teens. He breaks into the cabin where they're all hiding, knocking over a very conveniently placed full canister of gas and a lantern, it causing a fire, which is like, what are the chances? High, because whoever wrote this movie wanted there to be fire and it to be badass, but it's cool. It's pretty cool. Fam, let me tell you, this fool Jason is yoked up, brother.
Let me tell you something, brother.
Like, he just slaps Lori's friend Kia, and she goes flying across the room with literally no effort. And he does the same to Linderman, impaling him on a shelf bracket, and this actually fatally injures him, which is kind of sad because he was a good character, you know what I mean? He's a good character. Lori eventually wakes up, and she manages to pull Freddy into the physical world. They don't explain how this happens, but we're not questioning this, guys. We're just accepting it. Okay, we're moving on. Jason confronts Freddy right away inside of the now on fire cabin, and it's super epic. Literally, this scene is so metal. No cap, fam. That's on God. Honestly, this fight scene is so funny. Like, Jason just throws Freddy around like he's literally weightless and has ragdoll mechanics. Like, It's a literal meme. I'm not gonna lie. So Will and Lori have decided to, attempt to escape using a boat that's conveniently on the lake, even though the camp has been abandoned for years, but it's fine. We're not questioning this. We're just accepting it. We're just accepting it. So we see Freddy and Jason fight throughout the Camp Crystal Lake campgrounds, during which Kia attempts to distract them in order to help Lori and Will make their escape on the boat, and Jason just kills her. And again, we get a very funny scene where we see the weightless ragdoll mechanic. Like, Kia literally goes flying 50 feet away after getting slashed by Jason. Like, it's so bad, but it's also so funny and also pretty awesome. As Will and Lori are attempting to escape, Lori suddenly refuses to leave until she sees Freddy die, since she has now learned that he is the one responsible for her mother's death. So, yeah, so there's that. Freddy and Jason then begin the most metal fight of all time. Freddy clearly knows Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and some sort of forbidden martial arts, and slowly gains the upper hand, eventually even cutting off Jason's fingers and gouging out his eyes, which is straight up gnarly, bro. Like, it's gnar binks, dog. It's cray. And honestly, the size difference between the actors that play Freddy and Jason is pretty noticeable, and it was a little off-putting, but it's also pretty funny. As Freddy gains the upper hand, we see Lori distracts him, allowing Jason to punch through his torso. And this is like straight up One Punch Man status. It's kind of crazy. Jason then also rips off Freddy's gloved arm, which is crazy, brother. Freddy, who has managed to get a hold of Jason's machete at this point, just plunges it into Jason, and it's pretty dramatic stuff. It's pretty dramatic. We then see Lori and Will set fire to the dock using the gas pump for the camp boats, which is also very convenient, but we're not going to question it. Eventually, this causes an explosion that throws both Freddy and Jason into the lake. Freddy climbs out of the lake and is actually about to kill Will and Lori using Jason's machete. And, you would think for having his arm ripped off and being like super beat up, he would maybe want to recuperate, but nope. But as Freddy Krueger is about to kill them, we see Jason emerge from the lake and he stabs Freddy through the torso using his own ripped off gloved arm. It's kind of insane, actually. It's kind of insane. This, of course, causes Freddy to drop the machete, which Lori then picks up and she uses it to behead Freddy. It's super, super epic stuff. And honestly, this scene was so stupid, but what can you expect from this movie? Like, this is literally such a meme. Like, she goes, "Welcome to my world, bitch." It's so stupid. It's so stupid. We then see Jason, Freddy's head, and his body sink into the lake, and we presume they're both dead. It is now the next morning, and we see that Jason has emerged from the lake, who is now holding his machete once again, and Freddy's head. Freddy then winks at the camera, and it was very cheesy, very terrible CGI, but this basically implies that there is no winner, and that the winner is kind of ambiguous, and, that it's kind of a tie, so nobody really wins in Freddy versus Jason. I don't know, like, it's fine. It's fine. We then fade to black. The movie ends. So, was Freddy vs. Jason worth watching? I would say yeah. I mean, honestly, it's one of those movies that's definitely bad, but in all the right ways. Like, this entire movie felt like you were watching a meme, and I was all for it, to be honest. It was kind of the perfect vibe going into spooky season. It's not very scary, and in fact, it's probably more of an action comedy, but it's always cool to watch some of the classic, slasher characters. So all in all, I would say if you want to be entertained and even have a few laughs while you get into the pumpkin spice and everything nice Halloween vibe, this movie is kind of perfect for that. I would say definitely give this movie a watch if you haven't already, and if you saw it when it first came out, give this movie a rewatch, because it was honestly a lot more entertaining than I remember. Although I was like 12 years old when this movie first came out, so I'm not surprised. Alrighty, Rube, that about does it for me here. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I super appreciate each and every one of you. If you enjoyed the video, remember to slash that like button using the ragdoll mechanics, and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Also, if you have any movies that you would like to see a video on, make sure to comment them down below. And until next time,
Unstoppable.
dot hack, slash 'em, gash 'em, cut 'em up, bash 'em, flame can't stop 'em. I'm a motherfucking hockey goalie, name's Jason, aka the kill station, blood staining, straight banging, it's honestly dope.